Hello and welcome. I am Scrapperlock. This is City of Heroes. We're with Liberty Lass, our level 25 brute. We've earned 390,000 XP, 55,000 to go to get to the next level, and we have a mission to go to Independence Port and stop the Vajaloks because we're on the story arc that I love so much, Scroll of Tielekku. So, I do want to point out a couple of things. If you want to, the Hero Core Field Analyst is right here, and that allows you to set difficulty. But if you want to, you can also, as someone pointed out, reminded me, set your notoriety right here by clicking on this little word balloon. Click hovering over set notoriety, and then you can adjust level, team size, blah blah blah. I prefer to do it. Well, first of all, I got used to doing it at the agents because Rebirth does not have this one, and I was used to Rebirth. But also, I prefer doing it because you can look right up here and see exactly what you currently have set. I'm not sure if there's any other place to do that. Let's head to the base where we can then quickly go to Independence Port, and I can show you what I'm kind of working on with the base here. So I've redone some things. I have this room. I don't know if it's going to stay blue. We'll see. We always have this seam in the middle of the doorway, so this is a doorway area. This is not part of a room. It used to be that you couldn't place things in doorways, but now you can, so I might try to craft some sort of an archway. All of the regular non-hazard zones are in here, and my plan was to put the hazard zones on this side and then have a hallway leading out either way, or I don't know, something like that, to have this kind of be a teleportation room. But I'm not 100% happy with it, so that may change. I've done nothing really else with the base. So let's click on this, and you can see that all of these, you can go to all of these places. It's sort of odd that even though I have Callisti Wharf last here, it's got Peregrine Island last. The rest of them are in the order that I placed them. So let's go to Independence Port, and at least it's nice that you can just go straight from the base to anywhere, which is pretty cool. And we end up again next to the base portal, which is pretty good, but unfortunately this is going to be all the way south. So let's go to the train station, and we will go take the other station. At least this is quicker than trying to go by hand, like manually from one zone to another. And now we are a lot closer, and we'll head across to stop the villains in the warehouse. I actually really like Independence Port. It's very sort of atmospheric. It feels a lot like a port. You've got all these ships with, eventually in some places there were like cranes to load cargo. You can see over here they're loading cargo from some kind of a grain silo or something. It's really pretty cool, and they did a very nice job with how they arranged the docks and everything. It definitely looks like a port. You've got this sort of track here that's got a crane on it that's going to be taking stuff on and off the ships and everything. They did a really good job of researching what different city areas look like and making Paragon City look, in fact, like those places. I've always been very happy with the atmospherics and the city feel of this game. I really like it, and I also like how Pretoria feels very, very different. They did a good job with that as well. As I was watching a let's play of City of Heroes like popped up in my feed again today, and I was watching it. I don't know when it was released, but I think it was a couple of weeks ago. So somebody who got started, and then it's one of the people, and I think there's more than one, who play the game on a let's play without doing any narration. They just sort of play it, and he had his level up icon had hit. Now I'm guilty of this too, sometimes forgetting to level, but he was 7th level. I guess leveled up to 8 and hadn't gotten his level 8 power yet, and he was doing missions to defeat enemies in Paris Park, right? Just basically do random street hunts in Paris Park. And the poor guy looked like he was trying to solo, trying to take out spawns in Paris Park. And I thought, oh, that is not a good thing to do. You really don't want to try and solo in Paris Park. And he was playing a controller, I think. I think this is the guy that might be the guy that was playing the controller. And I'm like, oh, you poor person. There was just no way. And he was just getting owned. And The reason I noticed what was going on was I just happened. I didn't watch the whole thing, right? I kind of watched a little bit early part of it, and then I fast forwarded to a later spot, and the spot that I fast forward to just happened to be him getting face planted and going to the hospital. And I thought, why is this guy going to the hospital level 7? And I realized, oh, the poor guy. Apparently, they still do have the missions in the game that that'll like ask you to um, street hunt in Paris Park. And oh man, yeah, don't do that, especially if you're new. And guys, we don't have to worry about these shamans anymore because total focus plus barrage equals stun, and it knocks them right out of their debuff. That is just awesome. I'm loving it. I do also want to make a correction to what I said about leveling up. All of the level breakpoints that I said about when you get powers are correct. Why do I keep missing with 74% to hit? All those breakpoints are correct, but apparently Homecoming has adjusted down when you get powers. So in live, and certainly at launch, the final power here was level 38. The second one in your secondary was level 35. Level 32 was your last primary. Then level 28 was your third to last in the secondary, and level 26 was your second to last in the primary. Okay, that was definitely the case, but apparently now all of these unlock before level 30 or by level 30. So, yeah, I apologize for that. It's just that's Rebirth, as far as I know, still uses the old algorithm. And I think Homecoming did the last time I played on it. And obviously I haven't gotten above level 25, so it's not something I could have known without having like looked it up, and it didn't even occur to me to look it up. I did clock that Power Crash was available at an earlier level than I expected, but I didn't realize that they had done that big of a revamp that you're getting powers almost 10 levels early. Powers unlocked almost 10 levels early. We are going to mostly use the traditional leveling method. So, probably at level 26 I'll get Power Crash, and 28 I'll get Heightened Senses, and then probably at 30 I'll get Taunt. Unless I feel like I need Taunt earlier, I might get Taunt at 26, because the one issue we have with all these primaries as an offensive character, you need to 6-slot everything but build up. And so we really don't have enough slots to slot another attack at 26 anyway. And we really don't have enough slots to slot to slot these guys either. So there is one major power that doesn't take any slots, and that's Taunt. You just put Recharge on it and you leave it like this. And so it might be worth doing that at 26. I don't know. We'll think about it. I would like to get another attack because I feel like our attack chain could still use another attack in it. Sometimes I'm kind of waiting a little bit. I think it looks really awesome when we do the when we have our fist charged up red, and then we do the blue total focus, and it changes from red to blue back to red again. That makes it feel very like American flag. I really like that. And since most of Liberty Lass's attack powers are either blue or red, I actually really like that she that her main defense power, just by luck, the one I picked to make white, is the one that primarily shows, and therefore we do have some red, white, and blue on her powers, which is pretty cool. We don't need those guys, so we'll just expand them and expend them. And I think because we're doing +1s and we're having trouble hitting, I'm not gonna keep 3 blues. I'll keep an extra yellow over there. So it'll be 3, 3, 3, 3, and then 2 and an extra yellow as part of my normal kit. I think that's what we're gonna do. So let me explain, why did I switch off of that guy? Because there's no point to stunning him when he's almost dead. Or defeated, shall we say. We don't kill things. Well, I guess we do kill zombies. Right? That's okay to kill them. Right? Because they're not alive anyway, and they're walking corpses. Storm Shaman, alright. So what I want to do here, let's try this one. Let's total focus this guy. And now we charge up and we try to bash him, and that disorients him, and that takes him out of his hurricane. So you just got to keep pounding him and hope that you can keep him disoriented until he's defeated. And now we can disorient this guy. That is really good damage mitigation, I have to say. So I do want to talk about something else build-wise. Somebody asked, why are you slotting in SOs? Right? Why don't you just put training, not training, generic inventions in? Well, the reason is, I believe at level 25, the training, the generic inventions that aren't sets, they're like SOs that don't expire. I believe they're equivalent at level 25 to level -2 or -3, and that at level 30, and they're permanent, right? And then the level 30 ones, I think they're about the equivalent to this on level. I might be wrong about that. And then the level 35s are like having level +3 SOs, and they stay that way even when you're 50. And then the higher they are, the more bonus they give. So I tend not to try and craft or slot anything below level 30. So as we get to level 27, 28, I will start to look for recipes for training generic enhancers. Do we have any of these? We don't have any generic ones. Yeah, these guys, right? Defense buff. Okay, so we can see it right here. This only increases your power level by 19%, right? That is way worse than an SO. So I'm not going to put in a 25%. Well, so it's a little worse. An even level SO would be 20%, right? So it's a little worse. So the level 30s, I think, are like 31.2%, something like that. Sorry, would be 21.2%, or no, about 20%, 21%. And the +3s are like 23%. The +3 SOs, so that would be like level 35. We'll keep an eye on them, but I don't consider it worth it to have something that would be worse than an on-level SO, right? Let's take a look at the defenses, right? On level, it's a full 20%, right? And you'd go down to 19% at about level -1. So I'm not going to walk around with permanent enhancers that are equivalent to level -1 SOs. I may as well just keep the SOs, right? Once I can get it to like level +2 or +3 SOs, then I'm good, because then it'll be better than an SO. Otherwise, it's going to be worse than an SO half the time, because it's not equivalent to it's equivalent to worse than a +0, right? So level +3, +2, +1, and +0 SOs are better than that level 25, which means it's only worth a level -1, 2, or 3. No, I'm not going to do that. But 4/7 of the time, I'd be better off with an SO. I'll keep the SO. Now, you don't have to keep buying enhancements once you have the trainer on, the generic invention one on. I call them invention trainers. Once you have that one on, you don't have to buy any more, but I'm not going to keep it on when it's worse. Right? It has to at least be equal to an on-level SO, or I'm not keeping it on. So that, I think, we need to be the level 30s. At that point, they're okay, and I'm willing to use them. And then 35 and up are the prime ones that I really like. Stunned you. Now the cloud, I think, is independent and is not required. It's like a click power and does not require a toggle, which is why it stuck around a little bit. But the hurricane goes off as soon as you stun them, which is great. So yeah, let's talk about enhancements again a little bit. So what I tend to do is this. Level 22 and 27, I put in SOs. Once we get toward level 30, I start looking for level 30 and above generic invention enhancements, and I will start, as we get the recipes for them in drops, and as we get the salvage for them, and I have the influence for them, I will craft them and slowly, one by one, replace them, with the idea that even if I never get inventions, we'll eventually replace, by around level 40, we'll eventually have everything that's an SO will have been replaced, in the early 40s by invention enhancers that are equal to or better than an SO. We will also have sets. We should easily have both of our archetype sets in here. So that'll probably end up in probably something like Bone Smasher and Energy Punch. I'm not sure what the other two powers we'll see. And we may be getting some defense sets. We probably won't get any health sets because those usually you're not going to have a fourth or a fifth slot because there's no point to it. So we'll see. We may get some defense or resistance sets in here, like this one, because you already have 4 slots, so you can get something maybe at a 5th slot. Usually I have the slots to do it. We're not going to get any movement sets probably, because 3 or 4 slot flight, I'm not going to do that. So what generally happens in a Brood or a Scrapper Stalker is these powers end up with generic invention enhancements, and these powers end up with sets. Things like Crushing Impact, Mako's Bite, Touch of Death, I usually put in here. I either look for something that I feel like works well with the theme of the character or something that's just not ridiculously expensive. I am not going to spend $1 billion influence to get something that'll give me plus 2% extra resistance. I just don't do that. So we'll see what the sets provide as we go. And we'll kind of do this as we go, but that's probably going to mostly happen in the 40s rather than in the 20s or 30s. There's just, as you can see, there's no need for something like invention enhancements at this point. Guys, we're doing at level 25 with just SOs, we're doing +1s. And we're having no issue. I face planted once at level 25, just before level 25. That's it. And I want to point out, I don't think that something like SOIOs would help somebody who's face planting in Paris Park. Right, that's a matter of not knowing how to play the game and not knowing that Paris Park is not a place to go solo. So one of the things to keep in mind is that Paris Park was designed to force players to group, and all the spawns there are much larger than you can take by yourself, especially if you're inexperienced. I'm not trying to say I'm some kind of an uber player, because anyone watching can tell that I'm not. I'm definitely more of a casual player, but I'm a very experienced casual player, and I do know what I am doing, right? And the evidence of that is in front of you as you watch. I go through pretty effortlessly in these +1 missions, fighting mostly +2s in a lot of cases, and, purple bosses and everything. And so far, again, I only died once, and it was just because it was just a really hard encounter. And we now have the kit that I would like to keep around when I have trouble hitting and stuff. The extra accuracy is pretty good. So this is a defeat all, right? It says stop all villains, so we have to beat everybody up. And man, we are already halfway through level 25, and this is only, our second mission at this level. I know a lot of people like really fast leveling. I'm not sure that I do. In fact, I don't. I feel like we've missed so many story arcs already with this character, and we've only done like half of our contacts in each 5-level range. I would really prefer to slow it down, but I'm not going to artificially slow it down the way I did with Silver Phoenix when I first started playing on Homecoming, mainly because by doing that and seeing every single story arc with her, I had no real reason to see those story arcs with everything was like a rerun with my other characters. This way, okay, we didn't do the hollows with this character, we didn't do Striga Island with this character, maybe we can go ahead and do that with another character. Whereas I did everything with Silver Phoenix, pretty much. I think the only thing I didn't do with her was Croatoa, because I forgot about it. And then she had out-leveled it. Now, my goal with Silver Phoenix was she was my main character, and I was going to get all the badges and everything from her. But I don't think I'm going to do that with this character. I mean, I probably will keep getting badges and stuff with her after I stop making videos. But this character is basically just one of many, at least as far as I'm intending to do. And so hopefully we'll be playing in Pretoria with a Dominator or something, and then maybe I'll do a Scrapper again as a villain. I don't know, we'll see. But one way or another, I want to leave enough missions in Paragon City open that I haven't done again recently, so that they're a little more fresh and enjoyable when I get around to it. Alright, let's talk to Miriam Blichel. And she says, so the warriors were searching for the scroll of Tielekku. My guess is that the Banished Pantheon may have been searching for the same thing. I did a bunch of digging about that warehouse where you stopped the Banished Pantheon and the warriors. Apparently it's used to hold items for estates that are under dispute by inheritors. Among other things, it held the private library of Ross Coldwell, who used to adventure with the Midnight Squad under the name Darkvine. It might be a good idea to check with the executor of the estate and see what he knows about the scroll of Tielekku. I have this very weird memory. I don't know if it's true or not. The first time I did this, the real estate manager was in Perez Park. And I was like, why is the real estate manager's office in Perez Park? It's a hazard zone. People don't go to Perez Park. It's sort of like when they do a comic book convention and it's in Craze Folly. Like, why is a comic book convention meeting in Craze Folly? It's a nuclear fallout site. Only villains are there and superheroes because normal people can't survive it. So yeah, that's pretty interesting. So anyway, back to beginners. Guys, folks, if you are a beginner, do not watch me and say, oh, I'm going to do what Scrapper does and put everything on +1. Don't do that at first. Give yourself a time to ease into the game. Do not take missions in hazard zones to street sweep. Right? Those are designed for groups. They can be soloed, but I don't recommend it for new players. Right? Get used to the game and play in missions where everything is balanced at +0 for your character. If you're struggling, there is no shame, none, in turning off bosses and only fighting lieutenants. There is no shame, none, in dropping it to -1. I had a friend, I can't remember if it was on the United or the Daybreak Initiative. I think it was the Daybreak Initiative, which was my second supergroup on Homecoming, who was an experienced player, and we were talking about how slow controllers are. I was actually playing a controller with my best friend who was playing a Dominator, I think. Was he playing a Dominator? I can't remember. I think so. And I was just talking about how we were in Pretoria, and we were really having the dickens of a time with it, even though there were two of us. Man, we got face planted a couple of times because we just didn't do enough damage fast enough. And I don't know, I was just mentioning how slow, when I was soloed my controller a couple times, how slow it was still, even though they've improved controllers a lot from the launch version of the game. And she said, oh yeah, when I play a controller, the first thing I do is set the missions on -1. Right? Because the damage is so slow for controllers that it's just such a pain in the neck that it's just so much more enjoyable to play the game when it's on -1 and you don't have to just quite do that many hit points of damage. So this is an experienced City of Heroes player who played in launch and was, had multiple level 50s, but when she played a controller, she set it on -1, and she took the bosses out and just fought lieutenants. There's no shame in it. It's perfectly fine to do, and when you feel comfortable, when you're ready, you can go ahead and up it to +0 and then start adding in bosses. I would say up it to +0 first and then add the bosses. Bosses are a lot harder relative to minions than level +0 are to level plus relative to level -1s, right? A white con minion isn't that much harder than a blue con minion, but a boss, even a yellow conning boss, which is -1 to you, is significantly tougher than a minion or even a lieutenant. They have more resistances, especially for playing controller. They have mez defense, and so, you know, I would say if you feel like it's too hard, and there's no shame in it, and people who are listening to this thinking, what, too hard? Are you kidding? City of Heroes is so easy. You can play it on +4. Well, not when you're learning the game and you don't know how things work, right? There's no shame in setting it to -1. Go ahead and do that. Especially in the low levels, guys. One of the things that happens in a lot of the low level missions, and you've seen it in mine, is that a lot of the low level missions have a lot of +1 of spawns that are +1 to the mission, right? So you go into a low level mission and you're at +0, right? And then the mission, most of the spawns in there are at +1. Okay, I'm getting out of this avalanche thing because it's slowing me down too much. Leave me alone. Alright, now so we can stun him. There we go. Did we stun him? No, I guess not. Didn't the chamber or whatever he is run away? Did I lose him? Is that him? No, I don't think so. So yeah, there's absolutely no shame in, you know, I would say if you're struggling, do both drop it from bosses to lieutenants and drop it to level -1. See how you do. If it's too easy, raise it back up to +0 but leave it on lieutenants. If it's too hard, put it back down to -1, try bosses, see if maybe that works. And you can slowly, gradually, bit by bit, increase the difficulty until you're doing +0 with bosses, and then eventually you can do +1s and all of that. You don't need to start doing that at level 1, and you don't need to start doing that as a new player, right? Go back to my story that I told a long time ago, and I've repeated it a couple times, where I was playing a scrapper. I was like level 13, and I was listening to the scrapper forum where they were talking about fighting red cons and purple cons and taking them down, right? And that, like, the one guy said, if you're not fighting if you're not able to defeat large numbers of red spawns, if you're not able to defeat red spawns, I think he said, you're not a real scrapper. What I didn't realize was he was like level 35. I didn't realize people had, other than the burn tanker, I didn't realize that many people had really leveled that quickly up to that point, right? And so I went into Steel Canyon. I found 5th column lieutenant, I think, who was red con to me, and I think he was alone. And I said, all right, well, if you can take groups of red cons, I should be able to take one. And he crushed me, faceplant, super fast, just bam, 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 dead. So I rezzed at the hospital, and I tried again. And I tried another red con. I can't remember which type. Crushed me. Bam, 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 bam. Dead. Let's get out of the hurricane. Tried again. I died like 3 times. And I was like, these people are absolutely out of their minds. They are insane. There is no possible way that you could... This is ridiculous. So I said to them, I went to the forum and I said, what am I doing wrong? And I talked about being in Steel Canyon fighting a red conning lieutenant of the 5th column. And somebody wrote back, one of the more experienced guys, and said, wait a minute, Steel Canyon, what level are you? And I said, I'm level 13 or 14 or something. 13, I think, because I don't think I had super jump yet. And he said, oh, buddy, no, you can't be fighting red cons at level 13. You fight red cons at level like 33. So wait till you get your real powers in first. Okay? And so this is the same thing, right? You don't, as an inexperienced player, you don't need to be fighting red cons like this right? I know what I'm doing. For example, I know exactly which inspirations I need to take with me for a character like this. I didn't even have to troubleshoot it. As a new player, or with an archetype you've never played before, you're going to have to troubleshoot it. You may end up finding that a kit like this doesn't work for your character or your playstyle. So that's fine. Why do I miss so much with 75% to hit? I wish that that tracker still worked where you could actually track your 2-hit, because I bet my 2-hit has been way below 75%. But again, a lot of new players, they don't even know to put this up, right? So they don't know what their 2-hit percentage is, and they have no way of tracking that, right? So my point is that you shouldn't, you don't need to be, you don't need to like try to do what the people who are in Incarnate Trials are doing, guys. Just play City of Heroes for fun and learn the game if you're new. And there's absolutely no shame in setting the difficulty down for a little while until you get used to it, and then slowly build it back up. It's perfectly fine to do that. Yeah, my guess is that a lot of people don't really know how to slot their powers. They don't know which powers to put slots in. What is going on with this? Hit rolls. Missed. Rolled an 84, rolled a 95, rolled an 84. So I rolled an 84, a 95, and an 84 all in a row. Okay, we got a clue. They kept asking for the scroll of Tielekku, and I didn't have it. Yeah, we know they want that. So there's an elevator, but we're not done on this level yet. So let's keep looking around. Nobody up there, but there's usually a little hallway over here. Yep. Yeah, like I said, the one of the other streams I was watching, the guy was like, he got up to 7th or 8th level, didn't have any movement powers yet, and then was complaining about how like slow it was to go around the city. But guys, there was a reason for that. Right, one of the reasons you only got the entry pool power at level 6, that would be hover, and then you had to have the entry one plus be level 14 in order to get the real movement power, which would be flight or super jump or teleport. One of the reasons was they didn't want you flying or super jumping around the city too early, because they wanted you to get used to your powers and used to the city zones. Right? Once you start flying over the city, come on! Are you guys seeing this? 3 misses in a row with a 75% chance to hit. We rolled an 81, a 78, and a 79. It's almost like the die rolling algorithm only rolls from 50 to 100. And if you don't have at least a 50% chance, you're not going to hit at all. I know that's not what it does, and sometimes you roll 5s, but it really seems like there's some weird bias to rolling high. So your percent isn't really a percent. You don't actually hit 75% of the time. You know? It's very weird. But it definitely feels that way. Like when you have 90% plus to hit, yeah, it works. You hit all the time. But when you only have a 75% chance to hit, you whiff so much. Look again. Did we roll an auto miss on that? We rolled a 95, didn't we? 95.99. That is an auto miss. Alright, so we have 3 more office workers to rescue. Anyway, the reason that they kept you from getting movement powers too early was because they wanted you to run around the lower level zones before it got super dangerous and learn how to manage aggro. It was running around zones like Atlas Park and especially Kings Row Steel Canyon that taught me what the aggro range of the spawns is and how to avoid aggroing them by just not getting too close. It wasn't missions that taught me that, it was the street sweeping that taught me that, right? And the teamwork we did in Paris Park and in Boomtown and places like that taught me how to work on teams against big spawns so that when we had big spawns in missions, I was able to do it. So there's a learning curve, and the original way that the game was designed was meant to help you learn it. And I think that what's happened with Homecoming in particular, because they've moved so far from how a lot of the original game was weighted, is they've done this for the experienced players, right? Experienced players can go ahead and take flight at level 2. It doesn't matter. They know the city already. They don't really need to be taught how the city works. But new players are still coming in, and they kind of do. And I think it almost would be better with Homecoming if they made it some sort of an option to like turn on the accelerated leveling curve, and don't really tell you about it very much, so that experienced players will find that option, but new players... Who's shooting me? This guy? No, somebody else is shooting me. Oh, in here. Hey. But new players won't find the option right away, and as a result, they might get a little bit more of that new gameplay experience that I think actually can help you learn the game, right? The City of Heroes devs were actually really good, and a lot of what they did was focused around... Get out here. Was focused around helping you learn the game, right? And so sometimes it could be annoying because, yeah, I already know the game, but if you don't already know the game, a lot of the stuff they did was very useful and helpful. So I highly recommend that people at least try it the old way for a little while and get used to things before you go accelerating your way to level 50 as fast as possible and start doing incarnate trials. Try to learn the game first, and then do the other stuff. Now, if you've played it before, I'm not talking to that's not people I'm talking to. I'm talking to new players, the sorts of players who don't know you get movement powers at all, the sorts of players who don't realize you're not supposed to be soloing Paris Park missions or heck doing them at all, because most of us just skip them. They don't even know you can auto-complete the missions from the contact if you don't like it. They don't know the trick of, if the mission is too hard for you, you just go ahead and like level past it, right? And then go back into the mission, and it stays the level you first entered it, right? The level when you first entered the mission, it stays that way. So you can just go outside, level up, and then go back, and they don't know that you can do that. They might think that that it will continue to level up with you. They might not even realize early on that all missions are scaled to your level and group size, because in some MMOs they're not, right? So they might not even clock that or recognize it, right? Whereas people who've played the game a lot know that that is what's going on. And so again, I just urge people to take it easy, and don't be afraid to ask for help, and don't be afraid to set the game on -1 or something like that. Don't be afraid to fly out of the mission and go on the help channel here and say, hey, I've got this mission and I'm new to City of Heroes, and can somebody help me with it? I'm sure lots of people would be happy to do so. Now, I don't watch the help channel while I'm filming for obvious reasons, but I do look at it when I'm base building and stuff, and I'm perfectly happy to help people if they need help. So just ask, guys, and City of Heroes is used to have a very friendly player base, and people should be willing to help you. If you tell them I can't succeed at this mission, and I'm a new player and I'm struggling. Yeah, there might be people who don't want to help you, but there will be lots of people who do. Look at these misrolls. I rolled a 97. I rolled an 84. I am rolling so high. So these guys are a level +1, right? Level 26. No problem at all. But, again, have care. I'm a level 26 brute, and those guys are second only to stalkers in soloing ability. Some people would argue as good or equal. I happen to like, not stalkers, scrappers. I personally feel like scrappers are the best soloers, although stalkers are very good if you know how to stalk and if you use the stealth properly. It's not hard to do, right? But you just got to know who to target with your assassin strike, and you got to slot. That's one of the ones where you don't equal slot. When I was, I think I didn't when I was doing the stalker, right? You want to, whatever your assassin strike is, you want to 6 slot that immediately and put all your SOs straight into it, because if you do that, then you will be able to one-shot enemies right from the beginning, and that makes it so much easier. It gives you a huge lead against whatever spawn you're fighting. Another thing to consider when you have something like a build-up is if you can do an area effect with it, that makes it so much more worth it, because the build-up, then the damage hits everybody, right? So you do extra damage to all the guys in the radius or in the cone, rather than just one or two guys that you individually hit. We stunned him right out of that. I love that. And so again, speaking to the new players, anybody who's new and is watching these and, needs some assistance, please feel free to post in the comments. As you'll see, the other commenters are actually quite friendly and helpful in my channel. And several of them have beat me to the punch on answering questions. So before I even saw the comment or had a chance to make a video showing how to do whatever it is, somebody's already answered it. So feel free to ask questions. Other people will help you. I will help you as best I can. And if you don't get a comment that answers it by the time I see it and I'm ready to film, I will make a video where I help you and show you exactly what to do if I can. Now, it depends on what you're asking, right? If you're asking me how to do something as a controller, I can't make a video to help you because I'm not playing a controller. But I can do everything I can to try and help people, and I'll then point you to the video where the assistance can be found. So, we definitely want to help new players, and please feel free to ask. And again, don't feel like you need to replicate what I'm doing. It's not just whether I'm experienced or not. I have a play style I like to play. And you can see that experienced players are looking at what I'm doing and go, why are you doing this? Why are you using SOs? Why are you doing this thing or that thing? Because I like to. It's not that I don't know how to do the, sets and stuff. It's just not a thing I really enjoy that much. The crafting and stuff, it's alright. It's not a big thing. And SOs are good enough. And I'm happy with them. I played Tiger Strike all the way to 50 with just SOs. It was great. I sold every single enhancement, every bit of salvage, everything she got, and all the recipes. And I made millions. She had like 150 million. And I used her to bankroll my other characters. It's actually a really good strategy, guys, because SOs are expensive at the beginning. But if you auction house all this stuff, especially if you auction house the orange stuff, which is very expensive, and if you auction house the recipes, which as you get to higher levels, you will get more and more and more um, good recipes that people will like, and you'll be able to auction them off for a lot of influence, you can end up very, very wealthy. So you just sell all the stuff that's like yellow and white, just sell it to the vendors, and then auction off the orange stuff, auction off the recipes, and you can make a killing. And you can easily just finance your whole run to 50 using SOs, and it's no problem. Again, you can at least fight +0, and by the 30s and 40s, you can fight +1 and +2 missions. No problem. That's what I did with my Stalker. So you don't need to do what all the hardcore people do, and you don't need to do what all the hardcore people are doing on your very first character. Just remember, a lot of the people doing the hardcore stuff, they've already gotten to level 50 with multiple characters, many of them during live. So they already did this stuff, and that's why they're into the Incarnate Trials. But if you haven't done it yet, then these missions can be a lot of fun for you. And I highly recommend trying it and at least seeing if you like it. Try some different playstyles, see what you like, and then figure out what you want to do with your character, what archetype and stuff, based on your preferred playstyle. All right, let's call Miriam. She says the warriors already made off with the scroll of Tielekku, huh? At least the Banished Pantheon don't have it. Though I don't really want to see it in the warriors' hands either. Liberty Last, we're going to have to recover that scroll. And I'm not going to take this one because it might be timed. It probably isn't because it doesn't warn us that it is, but it might be, and we are done for today. So I hope you guys have enjoyed, and again, I hope anybody who needs help will ask for it. Please do so. If you see me online, you can also feel free to send me a tell. Again, I'm on the Everlasting server. I'm perfectly happy to answer questions. I just, if I'm filming, I might have to ask you to wait, but I'm perfectly happy to answer questions if you see me online. Until next time, I am Scarperlock, and this has been City of Heroes.